Thanks for joining us. I'm joined by Tony, the Chief Procurement and Sustainability Officer at AB InBev. Thank you, Tony, for joining us today.
It's good. It's great to be here with you.
Well, it's going to be a good week. Let's jump straight to it. I mean, it would be great to find out, what is the main message that AB InBev are trying to convey at Climate Week NYC this year?
Yeah, it's an interesting year, right? I mean, we got COVID-19, and that hasn't stopped us with our messaging. And as we work with you on Climate Week, it's really about our company purpose is to bring people together for a better world. And so as you look at COVID-19, it's actually touching, I suspect it's touched everybody around the world. And so as we kind of progress through it, we just want to show everybody that we haven't slowed down. This effort that we have with the Climate Week, RE100, and our whole sustainability program is so important. And one thing we're finding out with COVID is that you can't do it by yourself. I mean, as the social distancing is happening, companies having to do things differently than they've done in the past. It's proven out that it's even more important that we work with other companies like ourselves, with our consumers, and also with our suppliers to really achieve the most needed things we have in sustainability. This world is not going to get better if we don't work together. So I think you're going to find that as we talk through this interview, I'm going to try to bring some of those to light.
That's really interesting. I mean, 2020 has been a year where absolutely everything has changed. I mean, look at how Climate Week NYC is totally different this week. All best laid plans and everything. From your point of view, obviously, you had some very specific plans for 2020, the start of the climate decade. How have your plans, any examples of how your plans have had to change this year as a result of everything that's happening in the world?
I'm going to actually counter it. I know it's a little counterintuitive. Not much has changed in our programs and how we're progressing. What we have found out is how to do them. So I'll just give you an example. We're a global company. And when the pandemic started in Wuhan, China, and then kind of progressed through the rest of China, we've got a huge operations there. And so for us to watch what happens in China and Korea, we took notes. And so we took practices of what worked and what didn't work. And so as things started coming back in China, we could actually see those things and actually talk to our other colleagues around the world. So then when the pandemic kind of moved over into Italy, our European group was actually ready for it. And then we learned some things through Italy and then through Belgium and all the way through the UK before it came into, say, the Americas. We took additional learnings. So as we use these learnings, we were basically allowed to scale them much quicker, I think, than some other companies did. And so that really helped us. I mean, I would say our rebound as a company has really been as we track through, say, China, all the way through Europe and back to the Americas. And now we seem to have a united front. And I must tell you, the other thing that it really brought to light is how important our people are. In my organization, you'll always hear us talk about family first. Well, family first is usually talking about your own immediate family. But in our situation, that family first is really our organization and making sure our people are safe. And then as people become and feel safe, then they can actually get back to their normal working. And so our sustainability team and our procurement teams, I mean, we went through a little bit of a dip, just, dealing with how do you get all the protective equipment? How do you get masks around the world? Doing those things. But then as soon as we got those things under control, we're right back at it, especially on sustainability.
Brilliant. And I mean, it's a really interesting time of year, isn't it? We're sort of hopefully seeing the beginning of the end of the global pandemic and rebuilding a better future is the mantra that we've been using. I mean, from your point of view, Climate Week NYC, it's a really interesting time of year. Is this a sort of a fresh start for you in terms of your renewability plans? Or as you said before, is it more just maintaining that momentum into the future?
Maintaining. It's maintaining. It's actually gathering at speed. So let me just kind of talk about what we've done over the last couple of years. So March of 2017, we talked about 100% renewable electricity for AB InBev by 2025. What's interesting is that when we did that, we had 6 terawatt hours of renewable electricity that we were having to deal with. And so from that standpoint, 6 terawatts for everybody here that's listening, that's about 6 nuclear reactors. That's a ton of electricity. And when we started this adventure, we didn't know where we were going. We did know certain things we wanted to do. We didn't want to do green certificates. We weren't looking to buy our way out of this. So we were strategically, it was about putting new infrastructure on the ground around the world. So whether it's in U.S., Mexico, down to Brazil, Argentina, through Africa, Europe, we wanted to actually add to the capacity of new renewable electricity onto the grid. So I'm just here today. I mean, we're a couple of years into it. We're already 60% contracted. We're already there. 25% of it is already activated, which means the contracts have been done, the infrastructure's in, and we're taking renewable electricity on. We're on a fast. I think hopefully by the end of this year, maybe at the end of the first quarter, we'll be about 70-75% contracted. We're going to have some tough areas. We acknowledge that there are going to be parts of Africa and parts, Russia and parts of China. We think that maybe little changes in regulation in China will put us over the top there. But you know what? I couldn't be happier. I mean, in almost less than 8 years, we're talking about 100% renewable electricity without certificates, putting new assets on the ground. Pretty cool. Let me take a little spot there before you ask another question. When we look at renewable energy, it's about carbon, right? And so with with RE100, that's one way of looking at it. But there's another program RE100 has, which is around EVs. And so I just want to kind of play into that a little bit. We have EV in every portion of our company right now. So around the world, we have EV being tested, piloted, and now in the process of scaling. So if you're in China, you're in the U.S., you could be down in South Africa, through Europe, we've got the EVs up and running. So those are big trucks. And then I want to take you a little further. We're playing around on a lot of the new technologies. So, battery-powered EVs, that's pretty cool. But I think the real frontier is around hydrogen. And so we're partnering with companies like Nikola, that's sitting in the U.S. They're also in Europe too, and we hope to have the very first hydrogen Class 8 truck. And if that happens, we're going to scale that. We've already got 800 under order, but it's about the technology arriving. We're supportive. We're just waiting for it. And if that happens, then we plan on having hydrogen around the world also. All right. I'm sorry about kind of taking your question and going off a little bit.
No, it's great. And I think I've seen one of your EV trucks in Brazil. It's always really exciting to spot it in action. You've got a really interesting story.
Let me tell you about that EV truck. It's in pilot. It's been on pilot for a year, but we're planning on getting up over 1,000 of those just for Brazil.
It's a lot of trucks. Yeah. Now you've got a really interesting story to tell because a lot of the companies that we work with, they're making big commitments. Maybe they're not household names. You're responsible for some very big household names. Budweiser is probably one of the biggest brands out there, and I know that you've put your sort of renewable energy logo on those bottles. You even took out a Super Bowl commercial last year. Yeah. What role does sort of the customer-facing story play in what you're doing?
It's really about everything. If you think about it, it's about how you engage with your consumers. And for the Budweiser brand, and the gentleman that was running Budweiser at the time, a guy named Brian Perkins, he saw that. And his whole point is we served 42 million servings of Budweiser a day. And his point is if we have a bottle or a can that has that logo on it, there's a chance that we're going to have 42 million conversations around renewable electricity. And so if you start thinking about that, how do you activate 42 million people? That's pretty cool. But the next part is how do you start activating all your consumers to actually come together to make this a better world? And I think you'll be continually hearing, I think our purpose for the company, bringing people together for a better world, is immense. And so our ability to actually have impact statements with every one of our brands is very, very important. Budweiser, obviously, I mean, who would have thought a couple of years ago that there would be a Super Bowl commercial about renewable electricity? I mean, who would have thought? And there it was. It was probably one of the best commercials of the year, and it really has resonated well with our consumers.
Well, certainly cheers to that, Tony. And it was a fantastic commercial. It's been really great catching up with you today. Really interesting stuff. And of course, you're taking part in an event this week, which everyone can catch on Facebook Watch. So thank you for joining us, Tony. Really great to speak to you.
Well, no, and I have a ton more to talk about. So anytime you want to get together again, let me know. I'll jump
That
on
sounds
Zoom
good.
and have a great conversation. Take care.
Maybe
It's
one
good
day in
seeing you.
person. Bye-bye.
I'm definitely